Hey, what's happening, Bengals fans? Welcome to another edition of Inside the Jungle, episode 8. The bye week blues have come and gone. And you know what else it is? It's Steelers week, baby. One of my favorite weeks. When we did the show back in the day, I always enjoyed Steelers week. Just as much as it pains me to watch the Steelers continue to lose or beat the Bengals year after year. But Steelers week was always fun, right? Because it always meant the most banter. It meant the most smack talk and a lot of good memories, a lot of bad memories, a lot of them being rehashed on social media over the last couple of days. Oh, we're going to talk about some of our fondest memories of this rivalry here on this show. We'll also look ahead to this matchup. The Steelers coming off of we can call it an interesting win over the Dallas Cowboys, barely beating the Cowboys over the weekend. And what does that mean for the Bengals, who had a week to prepare for the Pittsburgh Steelers? And, of course, we'll open up the phone lines a little bit later on in the show. If you want to get in touch with us, you can. The phone lines will be open. The number to call is 513-572-7757, or hit us up on Twitter as well at Cincy. I almost said Cincy Jungle, AC. Wow, what am I doing? Let's welcome in the guy over on the West Coast, the best coast, Anthony Cosenza. AC, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing all right. My kid's yelling in the background, watching some Finding Dory, so apologize about that. But it is Steelers week, and it's simultaneously one of the most fun weeks of the Bengals season, and always also one of the most frustrating weeks of the Bengals season, Nick, because the trolls come out of the woodwork. The trolls just absolutely come out of the woodwork, and it gets a little frustrating. Like you said, a lot of old memories are rehashed, and I'm sure we'll talk about some of those. But good to be back on. Good to be talking with you guys.
Yeah, glad to have you on the show. We also welcome back into the show, beam me up, Scott Bantel. Scott, how are you?
Doing fantastic, Nick. I agree with AC. Steelers week, my favorite week of the Bengals season, and generally speaking, my least favorite week of the Bengals season as well.
Yeah, I think a lot of Bengals fans feel that way, Scott.
For sure.
But glad to have you back on the show. And last but certainly not least, we welcome back in the show Mickey Metzer. Mickey, what's up, buddy?
Not much, man. Agree with the gentleman on the podcast about Steelers week. The trolls, like AC said, come out in full force. I mean, I swear, anything Steelers related brings about just a flurry of just the worst people on the internet leaving comments. I used to run a unaffiliated website a long time ago where we talked about basically bad people. And every week we'd call out someone and kind of share their story and how it's terrible. And some of them were pretty bad, like Bernie Madoff and things like that. And so one down week we did Ben Roethlisberger, and we got, not even lying, 100 times more comments on that one than we did on any of the actual terrible people that we did. It's because these people find anything related to their Steelers and just mash their keyboard with the hate that they have, and this week brings it out of them.
It definitely does. Even the short amount of time I've been on social media, the last 24 hours, scoping the Twitter, trying to get folks involved with our show tonight, and just looking at some of the tweets. And yeah, I unfortunately ran across a thread that I could not escape this afternoon on Twitter. It's like a dark hole that I couldn't stop scrolling. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it's like, my goodness. So, well, let's talk a little bit about this game, gentlemen, shall we? Big news today. Ben Roethlisberger put on the COVID reserve list. So he, at minimum, will be missing practice this week for 5 days. I don't know how much practice he necessarily needed, but after watching the performance over the weekend against the Cowboys, he certainly was not on his game, at least in my opinion, and it looked to have banged up his knee possibly in that game as well. So with that news aside, gentlemen, if he doesn't play on Sunday, how disappointed will you be? Don't you kind of want the Steelers at their best, Mickey?
No chance. I don't care. I'll take any angle we can get. A win's a win. I don't care if we beat the fifth string quarterback for the Steelers. It doesn't bother me at all.
All right, fair enough. AC, how about you?
I kind of go on the other side of that. When we talked, I think it was last week, Nick, we talked about the remaining parts of the schedule, and even if the Bengals aren't looking like a playoff team at this point, I mean, these are the types of wins you need to start putting under your belt so that it legitimizes what you're doing, the plan that Zach Taylor's putting forth, and the fact it just further reinforces that Joe Burrow is the guy. So I'd kind of like to see him play full strength and really kind of be able to gauge where the Bengals are at. The Bengals are getting some guys back too. They've had some guys on the COVID list themselves, but they're getting, they got Sam Hubbard back today, and they're slowly getting a little more healthy. So, it's going to be interesting to see how this whole thing plays out. I do think that ultimately, because Ben hasn't tested positive, I think he was exposed to someone who was positive. So ultimately, as we sit here today, I'm pretty sure that he's going to play. And he milked the knee thing last week, and then he's got the COVID thing going now. So it's Superman is preparing his big return to the Steelers lineup, I guess.
Scott, you got any thoughts on this?
It is the same story, isn't it, with Ben Roethlisberger? How it's always an injury or something. Especially before the Bengals game. Generally speaking, it's him self-diagnosing himself with an injury and saying how he's going to play through it, and then being made a hero. I agree with both of them, with both AC and Mickey, in that I will take any win against the Steelers. If Ben doesn't play and we pound him out, that would be great. But it would be less satisfying to win without Ben. I'll say that. Because the story from the same trolls AC and Mickey were talking about is if the Bengals beat them without Ben Roethlisberger, it's going to be, we didn't have Ben, blah, blah, blah.
No. I can't disagree more. And this is why. Those are the stories that the Bengals are used to telling, right? Like in 05, if Palmer's knee, like we're the ones with those, right? We beat the Steelers with whoever they throw out there. We've ended their undefeated season. At the end of the year, it's an L for them in that column. It doesn't matter who you play, right? And so I won't feel good, bad about Ben being in there or not. That's it. 2 seasons from now, you'll remember
that's exactly what I said, though. I'll take it either way. I'll be glad either way. I'm just saying you're going to hear it from the Steelers fans of the excuses of, we didn't have Ben in it. I'd rather them not have the excuses, right?
I'd rather excuses.
I'd rather us just be able to say we beat him with Ben. Shut up.
Cry about a bad call of the refs or that you got cheated. Like, I don't care. Like, guess what? You still lost.
Well, they definitely benefited from the refs over the weekend in that Cowboys game. I was watching it over at a friend's house, and they definitely benefited for sure late in that game. The parallels to that 03 team. You guys remember back when that first year with Marvin, Chad Johnson makes a bold guarantee heading into that Chiefs game. The Chiefs were 9-0, and we're coming off a game where they weren't exactly playing very well, right? And then now you've got the Steelers coming up. They're not exactly playing great football. I mean, they struggled against the Titans. They struggled against the Cowboys, who, by the way, are starting a 4th-string quarterback, nobody off the bench, who was on the Browns practice squad at one point. And they still managed to almost lose to the Cowboys, who have one of the worst defenses in the NFL. And yet, here we are. The Bengals kind of on the rise, playing a little bit better. Their season has kind of shifted, but the Steelers, it's almost like they're due, Anthony. Like, they can't win all their games, right? So statistically, they're going to have to get an L at some point. Doesn't that kind of feel, does it remind you of 03 at all with the Kansas City Chiefs and Dick Vermeil and Dante Hall?
A little bit, and I think that's what it's going to take for the Bengals to win this game. They may need a special teams touchdown.
The only thing he did for us.
Yeah, they may need something like that. P-Dub, yeah. They may need something like that. They may need a pick six, a fumble recovery for a touchdown, something a little extra to give them that push. And look, I mean, this is technically the Steelers have the best record in football. I've watched a handful of their games. They are beatable. They really are. They're not an invincible team. They have weaknesses. They're very good. Don't get me wrong about that. They are a very good team. They've got a lot of talent. I think the wide receivers really pose a big problem this week for the Bengals. But I mean, they're vulnerable. They'll allow some points. They'll allow teams to be in it. And if the Bengals are on their game, if they end up being well rested, which they should be after a bye, maybe get some of these guys back, they should. There's no reason that they can't keep this game at least competitive. And I know it's in Heinz Field, and that's kind of an issue. But I'm not as scared And in other years, maybe it's because of who's under center for the Bengals. In other years, if the Bengals were 2-5-1 going against an 8-0 Steelers team, I'd be shaking in my boots a little bit. I don't really feel that this week. That doesn't necessarily mean I think they're going to win, but this isn't an ultimately scary 8-0 Steelers team to me as we have seen these past few weeks.
And this is where this doesn't get talked about enough, but the fact that Joe Burrow is going to go into Pittsburgh, into a stadium that, let's face it, isn't going to be full. We won't have to see those ugly ass towels being whipped around because there's not going to be very many people there. I mean, that's a little bit of a factor into this rivalry, right, gents? I mean, it's not going to be super. I'm sure it'll be loud, but I mean, that's certainly a factor here. There's not going to be that home field advantage for the Steelers.
There won't be. But I mean, this rivalry is big enough, and it's loose. It's loosely called a rivalry, right? Because the Bengals need to be more competitive to make it a rivalry. But there's definitely this is a bad blood game, and I don't know. I'm very curious to see. Most of my focus is going to be on Burrow, right? How does he handle this game? We talked a little bit about it, earlier this season. On these are the big games. These are the ones you need to show up and show that you know how to win, and I'm very curious to see how he plays. He's going to get hit. There's going to be pressure, but how does he respond to that? If he keeps his cool, calm, composed self, makes his plays downfield where he can, I'll be impressed.
How do Zach Taylor and Joe Burrow make this so that we don't get a repeat of what happened in Baltimore, Scott?
Well, I hope they can take something from that game. That was the one game this season that Burrow has looked not just human, but like a rookie. And I think the Steelers have a better defense than Baltimore. So I think the key, though, we've seen the last couple games is the way they've designed the plays. They're getting the ball out of his hand quicker. The run game is picking up a bit. And I think that's gonna be the key. Is that was the one game where Burrow looked a little bit rattled, and I think that's going to be the key this week. And it'll be interesting to see how they do it, because who is going to start for the offensive line this week? Can they keep the Steelers off of Burrow? So I think that's going to go a long way to determining how close this game is and who ultimately wins.
And ultimately, I don't know. It turns out now the Bengals all of a sudden have a plethora of depth at the offensive line position, Anthony, with Quentin Spain now. They got B.J. Finney in the group. At some point, Su'a-Filo is going to come back.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, well, now what do? You have Billy Price showing the ability to play center and guard at times. So the good news is the line seems to be improving, even with new guys coming into the building.
Yeah, and you've also got potentially Trey Hopkins and Jonah Williams potentially coming back. They both had some injuries a couple of weeks ago. So I'm really interested to see the formula that they're going to put together on that offensive line. If and when those guys return, you've got the two new interior linemen you mentioned, Nick. I'm kind of curious as to what the configuration is going to be in front of Burrow and who they're going to have out there. I think they really like Quentin Spain, and for a lot of good reasons. So I would expect he'll be out there in some form or fashion. It's just kind of a matter of who they have available. I think Bobby Hart is still injured. They kind of said, he'll be available after the bye, whatever that really means. So, they may have to go to Adeniji this week because Fred Johnson's on the COVID list. So, it's kind of a shell game in front of them. And just to kind of piggyback a little bit on what Scott said there in terms of game planning, one of the things that I think is going to be critical this week, Mickey said Burrow's probably going to take his lumps this week because of the Steelers pass rush, which is very good, and the Bengals offensive line is still a work in progress. One of the things that I think Burrow will need to do is he hasn't shown a lot of rookie mistakes this year, right? But one of the areas in which he has shown those has been kind of a lack of awareness from a backside rush, and you've seen him get the ball stripped out, and then namely against Cleveland, really. And I think Baltimore did it to him once. That can't happen this week if the Bengals are going to be able to win. He's got to be able to feel that backside pressure if and when it comes. And I think that's going to be one of those keys when you ask the question about Zach Taylor and Joe Burrow, what they need to do this week. That's one of the facets I think Joe's going to need to really kind of clean up this week. Be aware of maybe some pass rush he doesn't readily see right away. He's got to kind of have that innate feeling of it.
it seemed like, especially in that Cowboys game, I know the Steelers pass rush did end up getting to Gilbert a couple times, but he was still able to move the ball through the air, and there were some definite Cowboys that were unaccounted for and wide open at times. So I agree. I think this Steelers defense, yes, it's got a vaunted pass rush, but I think if you're able to move the ball and protect Burrow, there's going to be some opportunities there. So we shall see. I think it'll be a fun game for sure this weekend because this is a chance for us to see where we are at in the maturation of one Joe Burrow. He's had a good couple of weeks since the lumps he took in Baltimore. Ultimately, where's he at? Where we stand now as we head into his first Steelers week as an NFL football player. We'd love to hear from you. Get in touch with us inside Jungle Pod on Twitter. You can email us insidethejunglepod@gmail.com. So let's look back a little bit at this rivalry, gentlemen, shall we? Like over the years, there's been some moments. I saw him today on Twitter being thrown around. I've seen the Palmer injury with chemo, the Shazier hit. We've had I think Bernard got crushed one year on a crack back block on, I can't remember who it was. It was a Steelers receiver. But there's
Huber, right? Keith Rivers, Huber.
Oh,
yeah.
Hines Ward to Keith. Oh my God. Forgot about Keith Rivers. But yeah, and you look back in the recent years, gentlemen, what stood out to you? What has been some of your fondest memories, Mickey?
Fondest? Man, I don't know. There's not a lot of fond memories when it comes to the Steelers. Like, you kind of cherish the Bengals wins. We were talking earlier. I mean, I remember being in the stands for the Brian Leonard, fourth down stretch. The Bengals going for 2 to seal it at the end. That was pretty big. I mean, you can still find that video on YouTube and listen to the crowd cheers. Pretty cool. I think my least fond memory would have been, the Vontaze perfect hit playoffs, a game that should have been wrapped up. That was just bad on so many angles, right? Like, you had some terrible decisions by Bengals players. You had, just Steelers coaches on the field being idiots. It seemed one-sided, but like the game should have already been over. Like, that one was one of the worst. I was also at the, the Carson Palmer knee injury, and I don't hold the same kind of, animosity towards the Steelers for that one, because I remember we were in the end zone at the time, and our, Palmer's back was to us, so it was right in front of us, and he goes down, and I called my wife right away, and I said, what are they saying? She's like, they think it's bad. And she's like, it didn't look like it was on purpose. As soon as it happened, the guy stood up, put his hands on his head, and that stuff happens. I mean, it's the dipshit fans that are sharing the videos today and celebrating that. And then the same ones are saying it's fair because of Shazier or whatever. That's just stupid fans. So I don't know. Those are my ups and down moments, I guess, from Steelers week. Nick.
Yeah, those are, those were salt in the wound a little bit there, thinking about some of these. I don't remember where I was when I saw the Palmer injury happen, but yeah, that was a big kick in the gut, especially considering it was chemo, a former Bengal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that one was a tough one. Scott, you got anything fond or happy memories when it comes to Steelers week?
I think my happiest memory that I would have of Steelers week would have been, I believe it was the 05 season where we beat them in Pittsburgh. I don't think it clinched the division, but it essentially clinched the division. If I remember correctly, my memory is a little bit foggy as to which season that was. It was the TJ wiping his shoes with the terrible towel game.
Saw that video today.
Yeah, I think that was 05.
Pretty sure the Bengals tweeted that video out, by the way.
Which would have been the first season they made it back to the playoffs since 1990. So that is the one that sticks out to me from a fondness standpoint, is that victory, because it actually meant something.
I think there was a kick return in that game from Tab Perry. Does that name ring a bell?
Oh, Tab Perry, UCLA wide receiver back in out in Hasey's neck of the woods.
That's right.
Yep.
Speaking of UCLA wide receivers, Anthony. It's called a segue right there.
Yeah. We talked about it before we took the air there. Yeah, I think that was 0-1 where the Bengals, I think, squeaked one out against. I'll have to look that up. Squeaked that one out, and Danny Farmer had a big game, I think, to help lead them. There's a couple things. That was kind of one. I definitely remember the 0-3 game where Kitna led him to a last-second victory. Matt Schobel caught a touchdown, which may not even be considered a catch these days in the NFL. He kind of bobbled it towards the end, taking a shot. But, they gave him the win there. And then, of course, 0-9, the game we were talking a little bit about it before we took the air, too. The infamous Brian Leonard, Andre Caldwell game. That was the year where the Bengals were just making, they kept pulling out these last second win. And that one was no different. It took a 4th down conversion by Brian Leonard, and, Palmer hit Caldwell, and that was just kind of a big game. And if you remember that one, I think they were down like 21-7 or something at the half. They were down big. And then Jonathan Joseph returned a pick 6 there, and then they were off and running. So, those are a couple. I mean, there's some other good ones. And guys, I just kind of did a little homework while we were chatting. And according to Pro Football Reference, the Bengals have played the Steelers the most, it looks like, in their history, 99 games. And their win percentage is .354. They're 35-64 against the Steelers. So not good.
That's a good batting average. Baseball.
It's a good batting average. Not a great winning percentage.
Oh man, I think there was one year. Didn't Leon Hall have a pick 6 on Big Ben to clinch a game at the end? At home, I want to say for me, the biggest thing I remember is in that playoff game, AJ McCarron leads the Bengals to what we think is going to be the game-winning touchdown to AJ Green. Oh man, and then just the chaos that ensued after that. Jeremy Hill hold on to the dang ball, man. Oh my goodness. And Mike Munchak on the field. I mean, you talked about that, Mickey. Oh, that was big. I wouldn't say that was one of my fondest memories, but no, I think there was a year where I want to say it was like 2000. It might have been. No, it wasn't 2015. There was a year where we won in Pittsburgh and it knocked the Steelers out of the playoffs.
Was that the one where Le'Veon got hurt? Was it that game?
Oh yeah.
You know what? It might have been
attack on the sideline.
That was. I think that might have been 13 or 14.
So and that was the year where the Bengals clinched. I can't remember if they clinched a playoff spot that year in Pittsburgh. Or I'm pretty sure it eliminated them. But this was the year when Nugent got hurt, and Josh Brown, our kicker that we picked up midway through the year, kicks a game winner at the end. And I remember I was at my in-laws for Christmas, and my brother-in-law is a Steelers fan. And if you can't see me on the podcast, that's me shaking my head uncontrollably. But yeah, and he kept talking smack the whole game. And unfortunately, where we were at, where my in-laws live, they're in Colts territory. So the game wasn't on TV. So I was literally listening to the stream as Josh Brown kicks the game winner. And I look over at my brother-in-law, and he's just passed out on the couch, asleep, not even paying attention. Like, oh, some Steelers fan.
Yeah.
But that was a nice one. That was because when he woke up, he was kind of not happy. But that was a good one. There's not too many.
That's a good win for you, Nick.
Yeah. Well, what were some of your fondest memories of past Steelers games with the Bengals? Hit us up inside the jungle pod at gmail.com. All right, let's do some shout outs, shall we, gentlemen? Scott, why don't you start us off? You got a shout out this week?
Yeah, one of our fellow Bengals podcasts, old friends of the program. We've had one of these guys on. I can't remember which one it was, but the Bengals UK group. They've got a podcast they run. I think it's called the Cincinnati. For those of you that haven't checked it out, definitely do. Their Twitter handle is at @Houday_UK. a good group of guys. Give them a shout out today.
That's a good one. Yeah, they've always, the Bengals have always had a pretty good following over there in the UK. And so I know Mike Smith is a old fan of the show. He and I used to do another show together on a different subject. But yeah, Mike was involved with them at some point. I think Paul Hirons, I think is his name, is the guy who organizes it over there. So yeah, that's a good shout there, Scott. How about you, Mick? You got one?
I do. So, we talk about the wonderful banter from our friendly Steelers fans on social media. I come across a guy. I don't know if it's a guy, girl, group of people, who knows? But their Twitter handle is @natty_sports. They're fighting the good fight, man. They're dishing it out as fast as they can take it. And so the shout outs there, keep on keeping on.
That's a good one. How about you, AC?
I've got a couple. I think I'll go with Ryan West on Twitter @Westy2552. Is that? Do you get? I don't know that. I know he's followed me for a little while, but I don't know that we've shouted him out. Have we?
Oh.
Okay. He put out a really funny tweet as you promoted the show tonight, saying put the kids to bed early, give your wife a bottle of wine to drink, and listen to this podcast. You'll learn everything Bengals, and who knows, you might get lucky with wifey after. So I thought that was pretty good. And then I see our boy in the Twitter chat. He and I interact a little bit on Twitter. Dave Wellman, good guy, and we've been kind of connected through Bengals and blogging and podcasting for years now. So those are two that I got.
That's a good one. I'm going to give a shout out this week to somebody you might know a little bit, AC, Coach Minnick. Had a good interview today, I believe, with JT O'Sullivan of the QB school. JT, if you're not familiar with it, was I think he played in the NFL for 10 years or played professional football for 10 years, but was a Bengals quarterback for a season. Couldn't tell you what year it was, but he was a Bengals quarterback for a season. But he's put out two really nice videos breaking down Joe Burrow's play this year. And if you haven't seen the one regarding the Tennessee game, go check it out. It's called Super Burrow on his channel. Highly recommend it. So I'm going to give a shout out to Coach for doing a good job with that interview today. So if you want shouted out here on the show, give us a follow at Inside Jungle Pod on Twitter. And, we love interacting with the fans of the show. Definitely. Speaking of interaction, we've got phone lines open. 513-572-7757 is the number to call tonight if you want to chime in and have your say about the Cincinnati Bengals and the Pittsburgh Steelers match coming up this week. Let's go to the phone, shall we, gents? Area code 305. Hi, who's this?
What's going on, gentlemen? It's Fatal Content once again.
Fatal leading us off tonight. What's up, buddy? How are you?
Hey, I'm good, man. Just another Tuesday, just here relaxing, checking you guys out, man. Good job once again.
Well, thank you. Hey, I saw your Hurricanes came back big this weekend.
Oh, yeah, man. Finally, Nick. Thank you, man. You finally tossed me a olive branch, man. He's always throwing me under the bus. Man, the Heat lost. So thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Finally something happy for me.
Good. Well, what's on your mind, buddy? You got any fond memories of this rivalry?
I think my guy beat me up, took it. I had to go with the TJ Houshmandzadeh wiping his cleats with a terrible towel based on what we've seen this week, how salty it's making the Steelers fans get. You know how they are, wishing injury upon my guy Joe Burrow. So what else would you expect from that fan base?
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I'll just leave it at that. Although I was surprised to see, I like, and since we brought the show back, I've been impressed with the Cincinnati Bengals social media. Like, they do a really good job. Like, they didn't do this back when we were doing the show however many years ago. But the fact that they tweeted out the video today of Houshmandzadeh wiping his cleats with the terrible towel, I was surprised, Fatal. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, that was pretty bold of them. I was surprised as well, being with our record and everything. But it's Steelers week. I mean, what better gift or video would there be than him wiping his cleats with a towel, man? They need to get less sensitive. We take all the butt of their jokes all the time.
I have a favorite image, and Mickey, you probably remember this. Every time it was Steelers week, when we would post on Who Day Fans, we'd have that famous picture of that one girl who was, how do we want to, she was a little bit larger. That was always a fond graphic that we would put up every week.
Solid. I forgot about that. We used to have fun there.
Yes, we did. So what's on your mind, Fatal? What do you think is going to happen this week?
I feel pretty good. I mean, I saw what's this guy's name? The third or the fourth string guy for the Cowboys go complete 21 passes. I know it was not that high a percentage, but he threw for 243. He had 1 touchdown, 1 interception. I like that. They had a guy that was averaging 6 yards against that defense. So, and that's with their offensive line is banged up. So we can't say, the Steelers have this. I mean, the Cowboys have a great O-line that the Bengals don't. So I like our chances there. They had 3 receivers averaging double figures in catches in average yards. So I like our chances, man. I like Joe Burrow. It's definitely gonna be tough on the defense. We got to see what the defense can do. But I think offensively, I know they'll get up for the Bengals, and they probably slept on the Cowboys. It's a human error to see a team and look past them. But I also think they got a couple things that they can be taking advantage of for sure.
So why is this game, Fatal, going to be different than the Baltimore game?
I think we have a different offensive line. I think we have different play calling now, smarter play calling, getting the ball out of his hands. Joe Burrow is a lot better. I mean, week by week he's getting better. So based off that Titans week, man, he gashed up a really good defense. So, or a really good team. So, I think it's just the betterment of Joe Burrow week by week. I think that's what gives me more hope for this team.
All right. Fair enough. I like the positivity. I like the good outlook that you've got there. You got a score prediction?
Cool. Damn, you're gonna put that. That's
well, before you even give me a score prediction, we got to ask you for a bold prediction.
Oh, bold prediction. Okay, bold prediction. Joe Burrow throws for 400 yards, sir. Joe Burrow throws for 400 yards, and it's not a 60 throw game. It's going to be an efficient, maybe 35, 36 throw game. Score, man. I'm going to go. I'm going to go Bengals 27, Steelers 24.
Well, if Joe Burrow's throwing for 400, they're scoring more than 27.
Well, that's true. I think you stumped me there. So maybe we'll go shootout. You know what? You got me there. That was a good point. Maybe I'll go 38-35 Bengals.
Oh, I like it. That's a definitely high-scoring affair in that one there in Pittsburgh. Fatal, as always, buddy, we appreciate your call. We love that you're calling every week, bud.
Yes, sir, man. Good job, guys. And one more thing. I wanted to ask you just a question of the night type thing.
We go.
So you guys can give me something for a minute. I want to do a way early rookie of the year discussion. I wanted to see who you guys had, take the homer glasses off. And do you have Herbert or do you have Joe Burrow? I was wanting to see what. I know AC probably gets to check Herbert out because he's on the West Coast, but I just want to see what you guys' opinion was on that. Who you guys had as the front runner so far?
Yeah, Herbert's looking good, AC.
I going into the draft process before I kind of really got into watching Burrow and the playoff run he had, I was kind of all in on Herbert. I love the skill set, love the size, love the athleticism. Where I think Herbert beats out Burrow a little bit in the arm strength category. Obviously, so far the big plays, the explosive plays category.
He's crushing Burrow in that aspect.
I think a lot of people would agree though that Burrow's got a little more going on in between the ears, at least at this point, in terms of reading defenses and that sort of thing. That was kind of a quiet knock that not a lot of people talked about with Herbert coming into the draft. He kind of relied more on the athleticism in the arm rather than kind of the cerebral part of the game. And that's why you saw some issues maybe last year. But I mean, right now, I actually probably would give the slight edge just statistically speaking to Herbert. But I think when it's all said and done, I think Burrow's probably going to be the guy who wins it, especially if he continues his pace, the 300-yard games and all kinds of different stats he's been putting up. I think you can't deny that.
Mickey, you got any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at the comparisons. I think Herbert looks great. I remember watching him earlier in the year when they played the Chiefs. He almost, led them to victory there. Look, his fantasy stats are a little better, but he's got more touchdowns, more yards per attempt, better percentage. even better rushing stats. I think he gets the edge right now. For rookie of the year. If you ask me who's the bigger MVP on their team, then that's probably a different story. I think Burrow holds that for the Bengals, but yeah, I have to agree with AC. I think Herbert takes the edge right now.
Scott, you got any thoughts on this one?
I agree. I think the MVP, or I'm sorry, the offensive player of the year is going to be more stats based, and right now Herbert has those stats over Burrow. If you're asking me who's going to be the better quarterback long term, I go with Burrow. Like AC was saying, more so for the cerebral part. But with the offensive player of the year, you look at Herbert, he's got 17 touchdowns already in one less game. He's averaging more than 300 yards a game. So he's definitely got the stats that would probably propel him to that award.
And the people that are voting for this Rookie of the Year award, they're going to see the big plays, right? That's what they're going to remember is the big throws down the field. So I would not be shocked, Fado, if this one does not go Joe Burrow's way. I mean, gosh, he's won it all lately. The Heisman Trophy, the national championship. I mean, this one might not fall his way. Herbert's having a pretty good year. Although, AC, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if you were watching the game this weekend or not. I thought I saw him get injured, and Tyrod came in for a play or two. Did Herbert end up finishing that game? You're muted. There you go.
I think he came back, and at the end, it looked like he threw the game-winning touchdown, but I think it got pried away at the very end there. And I mean, not that I'm really that heartbroken about it, but poor Chargers, they can't. It's kind of the Bengals type of thing. They get the lead, and then they just can't scrape together a win, man. No matter how well Herbert's playing, it's kind of a similar tale with Cincinnati a little bit. But I think he returned at the end there, and they almost pulled out against Vegas.
So if I'm going to make a prediction, Fado, I'll say that I'll say Herbert wins the Rookie of the Year from the offensive side of things.
Yeah, I can respect those answers. I think they're good answers. I just think it might change a little bit because if, maybe Herbert will come down a game or two, Joey's on the way up. And I think with wins against the Steelers and the Titans back-to-back is really going to help Burrow out too.
Yeah, I mean, if he goes in and beats the Steelers twice and gets the Bengals, believe it or not, at 2-5-1 are on the doorstep of playoff contention. I can't believe I'm actually saying that, but they're actually somewhat in the hunt. Now, losing to the Colts, losing to the Browns, losing to Baltimore didn't help. But if he goes and gets them on a little run here that puts them into contention, I don't know, maybe that sways the voters a little bit too. So
I think Nick's means not eliminated instead of in the hunt.
Right. Right. Thank you for clarifying that for me, Mickey. Fado, as always, we appreciate you, bud.
All right, man. Appreciate you guys, man. Love you all, and who freaking day, sirs.
Who freaking day. That's Fado giving us a ring here on the phone. 513-572-7757 is the number to call. Let's go to area code 818. Hi, who is this?
What's going on, fellas? Long time. This is Anton. I know you guys call me Antoine, but it's Anton. But how y'all doing, man?
Hey, Anton, how are you doing?
All right. It's been a long time. Mickey, back in 2010, I was back in St. Louis back then.
That's right.
Mickey, Scott, yeah. Miss all y'all. And, me and Anthony, I stay in Southern California too. So what's going on, Anthony? It's been a long time. Glad to have y'all back. Talking back with y'all, man. It's been a long time.
Well, thank you.
I'm glad you're here.
I forgot about the St. Louis part, Anton.
Yeah. He used to be 314 area code calling in back in the day.
Well, what's on your mind?
I was just trying for my Steelers, from my memory, back when Carson Palmer had gotten hurt, got his knee blown out.
Yeah.
I was at Arkansas State at the time in the dorm room, so I was watching the game there, and when it happened, I stopped watching the game. I went out to my car and just sat in my car and just listened to the game, just hoping just hoping that, like, of a different outcome. For some reason, at that time during that year, like whenever I like listen to it in the car, like it'd be a good out, like we'll win the game and stuff like that. So I went out there for the rest of the game and sat in my car, listened to it, and yeah, it didn't come true like I wanted it to. But
it worked. It worked for a little bit though, right? Because Kitna came in and they were leading at halftime, if I'm not mistaken, in that game.
Yep.
So it worked for a little bit, Anton.
Yeah. Yeah, it worked for a little bit, but I mean, Kitna. So I would just, you got a little bit of lead. Was it like 3-point lead at halftime? I mean, or something like that, or 7 maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a bad. But yeah, I remember this when y'all was talking about it. I remember going back to those days. But yeah, I'm kind of happy that we finally, for all those years going against the Steelers, I always be nervous going against them because, we had Dalton or, even Palmer in those big games, couldn't get through most of the time. So finally having somebody like Joe Burrow, where you don't have to worry about that aspect, of him, not coming through. It's the first time, as for me being a fan, that I don't have to worry about it. So it's definitely great to have that.
It is a refreshing feeling, isn't it? Because you don't have to, one of the things about watching Dalton play against the Steelers, and yeah, he had some success against them, but it always felt like chaos. Like it always felt like he just was not comfortable back there. And I don't know why, because there were some good years where they had some decent offensive lines. You had Whitworth protecting his blind side for all those years. So I don't know why. Mm-hmm. Why it always felt that way. And I'm hoping this weekend with Burrow in that we're going to have somebody calm, cool, collected, methodically moving the ball down the field against this Steelers squad.
Yeah, man. So I hope Dalton did good against that's weird. He did great against the Ravens. Like I think his record was positive against the Ravens.
Yes.
He killed them every time, most of the time. For some reason, the Steelers couldn't get through. So I'm hoping. I know Burrow had a tough game against the Ravens this first time, and he said, they kind of made him look like a rookie with all the blitzes and everything like that. So I'm hoping he doesn't have to go through one game of the Steelers doing that same thing, and he kind of learned his lesson from the Ravens game. So that's the hope. But I got a positive outlook, man. I know everybody keeps laughing about the playoffs, but for me, I think they can sneak in there. I'm just worried about the defense. To be honest with you, I'm not worried about the offense at all. I'm just worried about the defense a little bit.
Yeah.
Because getting no pressure with Big Ben on 2 bad knees, still tearing you up. It's probably not a good look. So yeah. So hopefully they can at least get some pressure on and get a guy down with 2 bad knees. I mean, come on, man. That's what Ben Roethlisberger this last year basically. You gotta do something out there. I think Sam Hubbard's supposed to be coming back. Is it this week or
this week? Yeah, he was reactivated, so he should be able to play this weekend. That'll be a welcome sight because Carl Lawson on the other side, he definitely is going to need some help. They need to get to the quarterback, whether it's Mason Rudolph playing or Big Ben back there. That was very clear. How many times? We're very lucky that Ryan Tannehill didn't have a great game, but I don't remember. Mm-hmm. I think Logan Wilson got to him, but other than that, there wasn't a whole lot of pressure on Ryan Tannehill over the weekend.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the defensive coordinator or the just players, or a little bit of both. We started off good defensively. Yeah, we started off good defensively, early in the year. And we have pockets here and there, a half and stuff like that. But then can't get no pressure. I don't even know with the defensive coordinator what you can do about that. But just a question for y'all. I'm just trying to see who's you guys is at the to finish the season. Who you guys is starting offensive line? Who you guys think is going to finish it off strong with the offensive line? Who you think is going to eventually be the go-to starters there
for the Bengals?
Yeah, after once everybody's healthy and to the finish of the season, who do you guys think?
Good question. AC, you want to lead us off?
Yeah, I think. It all depends on who's healthy, who's back, all that kind of stuff. But I think ideally, since we're not talking about some of these guys being gone for IR. They're all like IR return guys, right? They're not gone. So, I mean, obviously you got Jonah on the left. I think you stick with Quentin Spain left guard, and then you bring Hopkins back at center. And then I think once Suafilo goes back, you put him at his more natural right guard. The Bengals originally signed him to be their left guard, but I think he's played more right guard, if I'm not mistaken, in the NFL. I'd need to double check on that, but I think you have Suafilo there, and then when Hart returns, you have him there. Maybe you put in Adeniji, depending on how long Hart's going to be out. But that's my five. I think maybe Mike Jordan makes his way in there somehow, but I think they like Spain, and I think they want to see what they got out of Suafilo, personally.
But and I heard Lapham saying this recently too, that Adeniji's actual preferred position is left tackle. Like he feels more comfortable there because that's where he played his time at Kansas. So, I mean, I don't see them moving Jonah to the right to allow for Adeniji. But if Hart can't go and Fred's on COVID watch and can't play, then what? What do you do there? That's an interesting dilemma that Jim Turner's got regarding his offensive line for sure. Who do you want to see, Scott? Yeah.
Are we talking when everyone's healthy? Okay. Yeah. If everyone's healthy, I think I agree with AC. I go Jonah Williams, left tackle, Spain, left guard, Hopkins, Suafilo, and Hart. Hart's one of our favorite punching bags, but he has been playing decent of late. So I think he would stay there.
Highest graded offensive lineman too.
I mixed up Suafilo and the guard things, by the way. It was he has been playing left guard, and the Bengals wanted him to play right guard this year. So I kind of mixed that up. Sorry about that.
Oh. Well, we'll see. Mickey, got any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I'll go with the fellows. I still have huge question marks on Hart, right? Like, even when we hear he's playing well, his mistakes are the glaring ones. And so I don't know. Like, a few weeks ago, I would have said, that's the line you have to go with and solidify. And then, you see a patchwork line come in and keep your quarterback clean. So I don't know. Like, I have questions on the right side, but it's nice to have some backup, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, all of a sudden, like I said, with the additions that they've made of late, they've got some options. So, if it was me, Anton, I'd say Jonah on the left, Spain at left guard, Hopkins, Suafilo at right guard, and Hart at right tackle. I don't know. I don't think that will be the starting five next fall when they start things.
No. Yeah.
I'd imagine.
I hope not.
Right. I'd imagine that there will be some additions made via the draft or maybe free agency. But I saw recently too. We'll let you go, Anton. Appreciate the call, buddy.
Okay. All right, man. I appreciate y'all. Thank you I'll definitely call back. I appreciate y'all time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
Don't be a stranger. All right, man.
All right. Talk to y'all again soon.
That's Anton giving us a ring. Hooday, buddy. Again, we've got phone lines open. 513-572-7757 and give us a ring. I was listening to, I think it's called Moving the Sticks last week with Daniel Jeremiah and Bucky Brooks, a podcast, and they were talking about Burrow, and they were saying that what Daniel Jeremiah was saying in that show was that what he really hopes the Bengals do this upcoming season is don't worry about the defense. Just focus on acquiring as much talent as you can on the offensive side to give Burrow all the weapons that he can possibly have at his dispense. Like, just load up on the offensive side. And it was an interesting discussion because I know the line or the thinking is defense wins championships, right? But like, I think in this day and age with the passing and offense, like, I could not agree with them more. Like, load up, get some talent. I mean, I know we've got some talented receivers, but like the biggest thing they said was, I'd really like to get him a premier tight end. And that's kind of one spot. If you think about it, since Uzama went out, that's kind of, and don't get me wrong, Drew Sample's done okay, but like, we need a tight end that's going to stretch the field in the middle of the field. I don't feel like we really have that at the moment. Tyler Boyd is kind of that guy at the moment for the Bengals. So it was interesting comments hearing that from Daniel and Bucky.
I think the the defense win championships mantra is on pause for now. And it's cyclical, like that'll come back eventually, but the same's true in college football, right? Like points are being scored. Who won the Super Bowl last year?
The Super Bowl.
I know, but I was just saying.
I couldn't. I was like, wait, what's happening?
And they're known for their defense, yeah.
No.
So you surround Burrow with talent, you give him time, and he can score like that. You're going to win playoff games. You may not win the Super Bowl every year, but I mean the Chiefs are pretty stout to play, and it's not because of their defense.
Ben on the YouTube chat bringing back an old Tate doing things. Of course, that was Brandon Tate. I used to say that for. He says, I think Burrow has proven he doesn't really need great weapons around him. I mean, Auden Tate did have a good weekend against the Titans. But no, I mean, offensively, if they could load up, not just from a skill position standpoint, but like they definitely need to help him with the line. But it was just interesting to hear them say, don't even worry about the defense, Pacey.
Yeah, it's all about the passer. You get a passer, you protect him, and then you rush the opposing team's passer. That's all. That's what you need to do. And the Bengals, unfortunately, have not done well on their offensive or defensive lines. There are a couple of pieces on the defensive line that you like. Carl Lawson, Sam Hubbard flashes from now and then. You like Geno Atkins, but he's been a non-factor this year. And then, of course, they let go of Carlos Dunlap in that trade. So I think if the Bengals can hang on to Carl Lawson and add in another high-end pass rusher on that side of the ball, I think that's a needed thing to get after the passer. But overall, I think you guys are right on the money. A pass-catching tight end, load up on offensive line. They're already set with Tyler Boyd, and some other pass catchers. If you shore up the line, both lines. If you shore up both lines, and that's how you spend this offseason, I think that's what you want to do.
I'm not ripping on. Oh, there, he's back. I'm not, and this is not a knock on Auden Tate. This is not a knock on Mike Thomas. But like with AJ, I don't think he'll be back next year, Scott. For me, I would love to see them get that tight end, and I'd also like to see them get a receiver that's going to complement T a little bit more on the other side of the field.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you on that either. Priority 1A for me though is they got to keep Burrow alive. So, I go first to the offensive line. They got to solidify that first.
And by the way,
if he's got time, all of those weapons look better too.
Oh, sure. And the line is not just keeping Burrow alive, but you just gave Mixon $48 million. Right. Like,
yep.
Let him run the ball, and that's not working now either. So that's where you're going to see the benefit of that too.
Yeah. So I don't disagree with what they're saying. I think priority 1 is you got to first build that line to give him time and keep him alive. And then I'm all for them going for a big play type tight end, adding another receiver. Like AC was saying, if all you really got to be able to do is get after the passer, you got to be able to score points. I think defense now helps win championships. I don't think it wins championships.
I mean, who are the Steelers' corners, right? They don't have
Minka Fitzpatrick or something like that.
Well, he's a safety, but yeah, I mean, they're and Joe Hayden's towards the end of his career. My point being is they've kind of thrown some decent players out there on the corners, but what they're always able to do is get after the quarterback, and anytime a team is able to do that, the secondary looks a lot better, and I think that's what makes Pittsburgh so. Such a great organization. They value their offensive line, they value their defensive line, and their pass rushers, and that's what makes them winners.
And you know what they do well too is when those pass rushers get to that next contract, they don't overpay. They let you go, and then they just draft the next one. I mean, that's just crazy how. And as much as I hate to say it, they definitely do that very, very well there in Pittsburgh. Whereas I think we overvalue some of our guys a little too much. I did see that Carlos got a sack over the weekend, so he's already close to that 3.5 sack mark that we wagered on last weekend. Kind of stumbled into a sack this weekend, if you ask me. But anyway, it's just interesting that to hear those folks saying those things about the Bengals and how and it just seems like from a national perspective, everybody's on board with what they're seeing from Joe Burrow, which is Oh, it's so great, right? I mean, I remember back in, what was it, 2011, Mickey, when we were doing the show, like we were excited about Dalton, but there was always just that there was one half of the fan base that was pro Andy, the other half was not, and it just never there's no debate. Like everybody's on board with this one, which is kind of nice. So anyway, that's my little
great. He's a great quarterback.
But yeah, what are your thoughts, Bengals fans, on the Bengals just specifically focusing on the offensive side of things this offseason? I know we're looking ahead and there's a lot of games still to be played. The Bengals are not eliminated yet. Hopefully a big win this weekend against the Steelers will help to maybe change the mentality in Cincinnati.
Hey, ladies, quit your babbling, because now's the time in the show when all the boys pull out their cojones and make bold predictions.
All right, if you're watching us on YouTube, Twitter, or Facebook tonight, get your bold predictions in, and we'll share those here on the show. Mickey, you got any bold predictions for us this week?
Oh, I'm going to go to the well. I'm going to steal Scott's prediction that I think Burrow has a clean sheet. I don't think he gets sacked this week.
That would be pretty bold. Steelers have a really good pass rush. That would be pretty exciting.
I'm going pretty bold.
All right. Scott.
I'm going bold with the win prediction. I think the Bengals will knock off the Steelers, give them their first loss. And so I am going bold prediction, which will play into our next one with score prediction very well.
Yeah. Anthony?
I'm setting the bar at over under 4 sacks of Ben Roethlisberger for the Bengals. And I think they meet it or exceed it.
You said 4 sacks?
4 of Ben Roethlisberger.
That'd be nice.
Do we have 4 sacks on the season?
What's that?
Do we have 4 sacks on the season?
That might be the bar also right now.
This is the season, Scott. This is what matters.
There's Scott just ruining my bold prediction.
Wow.
Anyway, that's
a good one. Any word on Mixon?
Oh, he's in that super helpful day-to-day category that the Bengals like to end careers with.
Ugh.
I would really like it if he was playing this weekend. I think that would certainly help.
I think it'd be nice.
Yeah. Although Gio's done really well.
Gio's been awesome.
Gio's a solid contributor for sure.
Yeah. He's slowly crawling up that list of games played as a running back for the Bengals. Mm-hmm. Inching closer to that record by James Brooks. So does really good job in pass protection. Man, where would we be without Gio on some of those plays against the Titans? So I will make a prediction that Bernard has another massive game. I think he ends up with another 2 touchdowns in this game, both on the receiving side. I think he is Joe Burrow's Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And watching him play for the Chiefs, oh my goodness, wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be nice to have? Whew. He almost fell to us. Almost. Ben says 11 sacks so far. We have 11 sacks so far. Man, I do not remember 11.
Well, they weren't coming from Gino or Carlos.
No. Ah, man. So those are our bold predictions. Nobody's giving us a bold prediction here in the chat. Either they must be really behind or they just don't want to be bold tonight. I don't know. All right, Scott, you predicted a win. So lay it on us. What's your score prediction?
I'm going to go 20, very close to what Fatal had. I'm going 27-23 Bengals.
That means Randy Cavs is going to kick 2 field goals for you.
Those will be the ones he makes. He might attempt more than he makes.
All right.
Bold prediction number 2.
Right.
Randy Calves and Benjamin Knees. That's the game this week.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one, AC. John in the chat, his bold prediction is Burrow throws for 4 touchdowns. All right. Anton chiming in again. 31-24 Bengals, Burrow 4 touchdowns, and AJ Green over 100 yards. Oh, man. Wouldn't that be nice? I'll tell you what, if AJ has 100 yards receiving in this game, the Bengals win for sure against the Steelers. He's also going with 2 touchdowns for AJ. I don't know if I'm going back to that AJ well, Mickey. Do you got a score prediction?
I do. If you're a betting man, Nick, the over/under is 47. I think they go over. The spread is 7.5. I think the Bengals cover in their loss 27-24. I have the Steelers taking the Bengals.
Oh, he's going Debbie Downer here. Fair enough. I mean, we can't pick all wins, right?
Right.
Anthony, what do you got?
I think it is. It kind of is, actually. I think I'm going to go 34-26 Pittsburgh. Maybe Bengals make it little interesting late, but I still think they're trying to get healthy. They're still learning to grow as a football team, and maybe the second time around on prime times when they get them at home.
All right. I just think that the Steelers are due. I think they've been playing with fire the last 2 weeks. Nearly lost to Tennessee. Struggled. I mean, the Cowboys, they're so bad. The Cowboys are so bad. And they didn't get a lead in that game until the fourth quarter. I know that game was on the road, but still, I think that the Steelers have been playing with fire the last couple of weeks, not playing good football. It's rare that teams get to 9-0 in this league. And so I think it ends this week. I'm also going for a win. I'm channeling the 0-3 Cincinnati Bengals. I'm glad that no receivers got the nerve to come out and make a prediction of their own like Chad did back in 0-3. But wouldn't it be nice if Adam Erickson has a punt return touchdown, or Brandon Wilson returns a kickoff, although kickoffs are a dying breed these days too. I think they win. I will say Bengals win. I'll go 28. I'll go 31-28. Bengals get to win. And with a Randy Calves field goal. Maybe not at the buzzer, but it's going to be the difference maker. So yeah. Oh yeah, what a fun show this week, gents. I love Steelers week. It's my favorite week to do the show. A little tough doing it this week with coming off a bye, but it's good stuff. Fatal Content is going with a Phillips pick 6 this week for a bold prediction. I could get behind that as well. Definitely get behind that. Final thoughts, Mickey, as we get out of here. Appreciate you being on the show as always.
Oh, thanks for having me again, Nick. Final thoughts. Steelers week's always fun. They always keep it interesting. I'm excited for the game. Late afternoon this Sunday should cap the weekend off nicely if the Bengals can pull it through. As always, appreciate you being on the show, bud. Thanks, man. Weird too. This is it's a late time slot, and the game is on Fox. It's rare that you see 2 AFC North opponents playing on Fox, but due to the Masters, the Bengals will be playing on Fox against the Steelers. So hopefully I'll be able to watch it up here in Northwest Ohio. Final thoughts, Scott? Appreciate you being on the show as always.
Thanks as always. I think echoing what we talked about earlier, this is always my favorite week of the season, Steelers week. Usually it's met with disappointment. I didn't realize this today. I just saw it on the Twitters that the Bengals haven't beaten the Steelers since 2015.
They're due.
Which was shocking to me. I know we've been bad, but man, 5 years. So I'm hoping that for the first time in 5 years, I get to be happy on Bengals Steelers week.
Man, Ben is going really bold here in the chat, gents. He's saying most boldest prediction is John Ross punt return for a touchdown to seal it.
That's tough doing that on the inactive list.
And then that's what John says, following that right up. He says, will John Ross even be active? Maybe that's the bold prediction. Sorry, Ben, not to rub it in, but as always, Scott, appreciate you being on.
For sure. Thanks, Nick.
And great job on the socials this week. You've been killing it.
Yes.
We're going to make you the meme king around here.
I stirred up a couple people insulting Carlos Dunlap. So
I saw that.
That means I did good.
You did very good, buddy. And last but certainly not least, the background king over on the Best Coast, AC. Final thoughts?
I talked about the aspect of Burrow being able to feel that backside pressure this week. I think the other aspect I kind of want to see how the Bengals are able to do with so many new faces on defense and their emphasis on tackling is if they do get their hands on Ben Roethlisberger, will they bring him down upon initial contact? For years, their best guys would get to him and they would not be able to bring him down. Yep. And it makes you want to just tear your hair out. So hopefully the Bengals can find a way if they're able to get some consistent pressure to bring him down quickly, because that's a big key to this game. We know he likes to make a big play off a busted sack there. So let's hope that doesn't happen.
And we'll see if he plays. He may not. You never know.
Yep.
As always, appreciate you, buddy.
Yeah, thanks for hosting, man.
Not a problem. And just a reminder, we do record the show live every Tuesday night at 9:00 on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. So get subscribed to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a single episode of the show. And, of course, a rating and review on Apple Podcasts goes a really long way. Now, we didn't get any new ratings this week, guys, so come on. It doesn't take that long to fill out the form on Apple Podcasts. So help us out. Go leave us a rating and review. Just do a search for Inside the Jungle on Apple Podcasts, and we will come right up. Don't forget, you can also email us with any feedback, insidethejunglepod@gmail.com, and hit us up on Twitter as well at InsideJunglePod. That is going to do it for episode 8, Steelers Week here on Inside the Jungle. For Mickey and Scott and AC, I'm Subs. We'll see y'all next time. Hooday, everybody.
Hooday.
Hooray.